Lovelies, Rod Jack Fox here. I'm gonna continue What If Deku had a quirk called sewing. So I'm gonna continue a bit of the backstory. So after Inko and Hasashi was told that their baby had sadly passed away because of the lack of stuff that the baby actually needed to survive, which came from the mother. So when Deku was pulled away from her, or mainly taken out, like when he was born, he died, quote unquote. Sorry about that. Oops. God damn it. This is hard to remove. Okay, so the USJ attack. Technically, Deku does have a younger sibling in this What If, because Inko and Hasashi did wanted a baby, but since their first child died from lack of nourishment, they would make sure that Inko has enough nourishment for the baby and herself. And even though it might sound like messed up, Inko thought this is for the greater good of the baby. Maybe I done something wrong during the pregnancy that caused the baby to die. Which it was not Inko, it was not Hasashi, it was none of them. It was the doctors who lied to them, saying that Izuku died when he clearly did not. He just had a leg problem, which caused his leg to be permanently paralyzed. If it wasn't for his quirk, Deku would be paralyzed in his legs. And there's actual sick people in the world who actually does that to little kids. Like tell them, hey, you cannot be this because you cannot walk. Or, hey, you cannot do this because you have this disability. And it's like sickening because real people actually do this. And it truly sucks. So, I'm gonna skip to the USJ. Deku is now 16. Shigaraki, I think he's like in his 20s when he's at the USJ attack or something. I know that Davi and Shigaraki are like way older than Deku. So, if there's a ship for this one, I have no idea who's gonna be, or if he gets a ship or not. Okay, so stop saying in one place, Rod. Oh wait, so the USJ attack, Deku, Shigaraki, and Kurogiri were in the little bar area. All for One is telling him the plan, and he specifically told Deku to, whatever he does, make sure he weakens All Might, to the point where All Might is close to dying but does not kill him. Let Shigaraki do the finishing blow or the Nomu. And if someone gets in your way, here you go. As he told Kurogiri to open the portal, as some stuff fall out. The stuff that was there was simple equipment for him, but since Deku is still learning how to walk, he's still like wobbly, so there's no chance of him running on his legs, so it's up to him for crawling. And the things that was there, Deku was completely in love with the items. If you have guessed, the items were pairs of arms, hearts for he could eat, and patches of skins. Should have given a disclaimer, but this is people's fault for clicking on this video when it clearly said, dangerous. Deku, in a gargling voice, said thank you. Or, thank you. I have no idea how I could do that. As Deku, immediately, grabbed the pairs of arms, pairs of flesh, and ate, 3 hearts. In total, there was 10 hearts of the Nomus. Yes, Deku makes sure that he puts a lot of effort into where he puts the pieces of flesh and arms. he put several arms on what he calls his arms. And it multiplied, and the second that the arms attached to him, the nails completely fall off and the fingertips become sharp as something that could pierce metal. And the thing is, it cannot be altered or changed, so once it's done, it's done. And so the rest of the patches of skin goes to Deku's stomach and chest. Because during the time that Deku was with All For One, All For One has been training him. Deku actually learned a lot of stuff, learned to speak, and All For One even helped him learn to walk. He's still not good at walking, but at least he could still charge at full force. And Deku did gain a little bit of muscle weight. In this case, he was a bit higher than on the scale of muscle to All Might. He was like above Bakugo, maybe, like the muscle weight that he got. But he was lean, I guess. So at that moment, Deku was completely ecstatic because one thing that Deku does for a living is taxidermy. If you don't know, that's when people remove a lot of the flesh and bones and fill it with stuffing to make it look real. In this case, Deku did not be able to hold a lot of the hearts. Remember, there was 10 hearts and he ate 3. And so he made little dolls out of flesh, made button eyes out of bits of the hearts. Like one of the hearts was literally ripped to shreds by Deku himself and made into like faces and hands for the dolls of flesh. One doll even had an actual eye from a Nomu. Like, please keep in mind, all these pieces were from Nomus. So they're not from people, but technically are. Sorry for sticking on one page. Anyways, USJ attack! Okay, so the portal opens up a mirage of villains after Shigaraki and Deku walks in with the Nomu. As the heroes in training, aka known as Class 1A, had, you know what? Yeah, no, I have to wait for like 9 months. For the not 9 months, 9 days. So, at that moment, Deku was starving. He hasn't eaten any of the hearts, and cause he hasn't, he left the hearts in a specific jar in the League of Villains base so he could eat later. And he realized the amount of hearts that he ate in was not enough to fill his hunger. And he left it all at home, quotation marks on home. As he decided, you know what, it's fine if boss doesn't know if I kill like a couple kids or not. Like, let me see. The one with gloves and shoes, and that's it. Maybe she could go first. I don't know if it's she or he. I don't know. Maybe it could go first? Is it even a person? As Deku is literally thinking this, as already the villains were already attacking, as Deku was thinking. Deku was basically trained to be like a Nomu. Act on Shigaraki's orders, and that's it. Only Shigaraki and All For One orders, and that's all. As once a spiky blonde, ash blonde with red eyes looked at Deku, he saw a striking resemblance to his auntie and uncle. As he realized that's not true. Like, this person cannot look like my auntie and uncle because they had a child but it died after being born. Like, what happened? As after a while, Shigaraki ordered Deku to attack several of the students after teleporting them into different locations. Deku could withstand water, heat, and ice, but too much of it is like way too overpowering for him. So he decides to go for the water, because that's the only one that he's completely immune to. Ice and fire is like too much and he could die, which is normal human behavior. As he saw like several villains going after one person, well, 3 people. A girl that has light green and black and goggles with long dark green hair. Another one who has like brownish maroon, a brown hair which had a helmet, and one final person who is just wearing gloves and shoes. As if you all could guess from those descriptions, then you figured them out. I'm not saying the names though. As Deku decides, how about if I go all sneakily? As Deku dive into the water and just like swam all the way over there, and because he has several arms, it's good for swimming. But the other villains like tried to attack him because they thought he was like another person. But then, because of that, Deku like retreated because one of them was about to eat his leg, which he needed. So, yeah, I'm gonna make Deku like a bit of a, as he saw like one person fighting like all the other villains, as Shigaraki gave him orders to attack that person and leave the others to the other villains. As Deku was charging full force, like crawling on all, as villains were like, oh hell no, I'm not going near him. Yeah, bye, you could deal with him. As the person with pitch black raven hair with goggles that were a type of shade of yellow, with all black clothing except for his scarf, which was a solid gray. As Deku saw that his hair went up and he saw like a glimmer of red behind the goggles. As he felt like a momentarily drew up a bit, as then he charged right back, and the person was shocked at the moment, so his quirk deactivated for about 2 or 3 seconds, which gave Deku enough time to charge and start screaming in a high-pitched tone right in the face of said person. And the thing is, when Deku lets out a high-pitched scream, no one could hear it. But the second he like gets closer, well, you cannot hear it if he's far away. But if he gets like closer to you, you could kind of hear it. But it's like a certain frequency that only dogs could hear, and the amount that Deku could let out of that said scream could break like several glass. As he points his head up and lets out a siren scream. Well, not a siren, a banshee scream, and the glass above the dome shattered, falling down on him and the person. Ooh, this is too much for right now. Sorry, everybody.